the life you experience now is not the life that's come. That greater is coming. That your latter will be greater. Like I had no idea, the 16, 17-year-old Yolanda, that life could be this good. I had no idea. And so don't give up. Keep seeking, growth, personal development. Um, don't stop. Don't stop learning and growing.
About the love, let's talk about communication. Let's talk about the love, let's talk about communication. Oh yeah, talk about the love, let's talk about communication. Let's talk about the love, let's talk about communication. Oh yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your host, William Robinson, coming at you live today from the studios of TLC, Talk, Love, and Communication. Today we have a special guest on my story, Miss Yolanda Mitchum. She's going to share the story of Amaria Edwards, her daughter. She have a non-profit organization, H3 Heaven, Health, Hope, and Healing, ladies and gentlemen. She's going to give us some wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and tell us the journey of her life and how she became the woman that she is today, ladies and gentlemen. And without further ado, we're going to give my guests a special round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. All right there, Ms. Mitchum, how you doing today, ma'am?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for asking.
How was your ride over?
It was good. Not too much traffic.
Not too much traffic.
Easy to find.
Easy and fine, huh? So go ahead and tell my audience a little bit about yourself, ma'am.
So I am Yolanda Mitchum. I'm the founder of H3 Haven, nonprofit organization, also a registered nurse for 20 years, faith-based life coach, and advanced grief recovery method specialist. I enjoy helping individuals through my nonprofit organization, empower them with tools to help them with loss, whether it's them or their children, helping them give tools to their children so that we can go through life and experience joy. I am passionate about helping people. That's why I chose nursing as my career. I've been doing that for 2 decades, and it is an honor and joy to kind of expand on that and find ways to help individuals in a holistic way.
And, I believe that people that's in the medical field, you have to have a special kind of heart for that. How and where did you develop this heart to have a passion to be a nurse, ma'am?
So growing up as a child, I was a patient. I had scoliosis and 2 back surgeries when I was in 5th and 6th grade, was in a hospital bed, had to learn to walk again. Also, my mother, she was always a caregiver. My aunts and uncles, they would have strokes and they wouldn't be able to walk. We always had a hospital bed in the house. Some of my uncles couldn't speak. My mom took care of them. I remember being a little kid, 5, 6 years old, crawling in a bed and helping them to eat, feeding them, empty Foley catheters. So I've just always been around a caregiver and my mother, and being a patient myself, just really wanted to help and give back. And the third reason is my mom was a farmer and second, third generation of farming. She took me to them peanut fields, watermelon fields, the okra fields. Like, man, it was hot.
Which one of them was the worst out of the peanut field, the okra field?
That okra would have you itching. You would be itching, but the watermelon field, man, getting on the back of the truck, my mom would have me catching one. Like, we had to do it all.
Had the girls out there in the watermelon field?
I was in the watermelon field too, trying to drive the truck, didn't know what I was doing, but mama told you had to do it. Then the pea field. The pea field wasn't bad, but after they picked all the peas, my mama would knock on doors and sell the peas, so we had to shell them. I'm sitting at home. I just want to watch TV and play. I got to shell these peas.
And looking back, when you look at that lifestyle, and the work ethic that your mom placed in you, how do you think that has helped you to be the woman that you are today?
my mom played a huge role in that. I always saw her working hard, and other than not wanting to be out in that heat, told the Lord, He let me go to college. I'm gonna get a job in the air conditioning. But she taught me to work hard. She taught me the value of paying bills, paying them on time, having good credit, and most importantly, she taught me about giving to God. I paid my tithes since I was 13 years old, and God don't miss. He's been faithful to me. He's blessed me, so I contribute that to my mother, teaching me the importance of credit and finance and hard work.
So you have siblings?
I do. It's kind of complicated. So I have a sister that grew up with me, kinda. She's 12 years older. My mom was told she couldn't have kids. She would never be able to have kids. She found out she was pregnant with me at 41 years old, 7 months pregnant. Surprise. She had adopted my sister 12 years before that. So that's my sister. And then my dad got a plethora of kids.
So basically, you're the only child from your mother.
Yes.
Spoiled.
Spoil. A little bit spoiled.
So you admit that?
Yes.
Is it good? Is it great to be spoiled?
It's nice to be spoiled. It's nice to be spoiled as a child and adult.
So you think as you went on to relationships and things of that nature, did you seek that spoiledness?
So what my mama taught me though, I didn't really seek spoiledness in the relationship initially. I do now. She taught me to work hard, and I worked for a lot of things that I had. So I kind of started spoiling myself. I was single for a long time. I didn't get married until I was about 28, 29 years old. So I spoiled myself, and I got in the habit of, being independent and getting whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. I worked hard for it and didn't take no for an answer.
Marriage. How was the marriage life? I mean, for a woman, how do you decide to say yes? How do you decide to say no? How did you know he was the one?
So I got married at 28. I am divorced now. We were married for 12 years. I looked at the guy I married. He loved God. He was consistent in going to church. That was important to me, the values and how they serve God. So that was a big factor in it. I also know that just two Christian people getting together is not always the answer. I learned that the hard way, so to speak. There are other things that go into a marriage than just both being Christian. But I went into that marriage because he was a good father. He loved my daughter. I loved him. I liked the way he treated me. He loved God. I figure everything else would work itself out in the marriage.
What do you think the key ingredients to a successful marriage?
I think communication, communicating with one another, expressing in total honesty and transparency. And then respecting the other individual to make the adjustments that need to be made when something is hurting or bothering that individual.
When we say things like "I love you," if you had to sum up love in one word, what would it be?
If I had to sum up love in one word, compassion.
Compassion. You want to elaborate on that?
So when we think about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, he was moved with compassion because he loved us so much. He looks at our situation, no matter what it is that we're going through. He listens to us. He gave his life for us. He did that out of compassion. We could say that we love people, and I personally love everybody. There's nobody on this world or on this earth that I don't love. Love is something that we should do for individuals, but when you have those ones that are close to you, it's a different kind of love. You'll go above and beyond. You'll do different things for the ones that are close to you, whether it's a spouse, your children, your parents, your best friend. That's different than the love for the person that I have on the corner.
People say, as Christians, we like to say we love everybody the same. Do you believe in that statement?
No, we don't love everybody the same. You can have two children and love them differently. You
That's
still
right.
love them,
That's right.
but you love them differently.
That is correct. And, most people would not admit that. Most people would not admit that, but it's the truth. Even Jesus had 12 disciples. But when he went off to do a certain thing, he took the same 3 with him. Peter, James, and John.
Right.
How do you think the other 9 felt? Why are you always taking them? But it's according to their purpose and their calling. You understand what I'm saying? So we all have different, purposes in life. You know what I mean? And even in each other's life. You know what I mean? For different reasons. And speaking of that, ma'am, loved ones. Tomorrow is a very special occasion. Correct?
That's right.
You want to tell us about that, ma'am?
Yes, that is Amaria Edwards, my baby girl, best baby girl in the whole wide world.
Okay.
If she was here with us, she'd be turning 23 years old.
And that would be tomorrow, which is
October the 15th.
Okay. So, your daughter's no longer with us, ma'am. You want to share the story with us? Tell us about your daughter. You can tell us. You can start from the childhood and work it all the way up, ma'am.
Okay, so very interesting childhood. I was 18 years old, still in high school when I got pregnant with her. Kind of changed the direction I thought my life was going to go in, but it was such a blessing. I was sad, devastated when I found out I was pregnant because I wasn't in a relationship. I was pregnant from a guy who was much older than I was, and I didn't know what I was going to do. So that was a different thing for me. But once everything sat in, reality came to, okay, well, this is not that bad. My daughter actually saved my life. Growing up, I was bullied. I was picked on for my back. Kids were cruel to me at school. I didn't really feel like I fit in. I had low self-esteem, thought I was ugly. My mom, she was a bit verbally abusive, learned some good things from her, but I struggled in my childhood with my identity and who I was, if I was loved or if I was lovable, because my mom didn't show emotion. She didn't say, I love you, didn't give the hugs, didn't spend the quality time in that manner that I desired. So I really struggled. Was suicidal, had about 3 plans to take my life. And so when I got pregnant with Amaria, it changed my world. She gave me hope. She gave me a reason to live, and I never wanted to commit suicide again. I wanted to create a life that was better for her, where she would know her value and not experience the things that I experienced in my childhood. So I devoted my life and then decided I wouldn't be a doctor because I couldn't go away to university and raise a little child. So I went to the community college, thanks to Dr. Edwards giving me that scholarship, and became a registered nurse. So I was a nurse by the time I was 21. And a lot of the decisions that I made was revolved around Amaria, just making sure she would have a good life. Her dad and I worked together. We were really good friends. After our relationship didn't work, we were together for maybe about 2.5 years. We raised our child together. We did so many things together. We were like best friends. All her birthday parties, ballet recitals, beauty pageants, our lives revolved around her, even though we were in 2 separate households, until tragedy hit. And in 2008, actually, he was diagnosed with cancer and died when she was 7 years old. And that was a very challenging time for us because although I was a single mother, I didn't feel like a single mother because he supported us 110% and was always present in her life. So that change, it affected my daughter. She was, very heartbroken and sad. I felt helpless and hopeless. not knowing how to take her pain away, what to do. I did all the things that I thought I could, sent her to camps and put her in counseling, just showered her with love and um, did the things that a mother would do when their child faced loss. She grew up and lots of fun and exciting things happened in between there, the quality time, the uh I started dating someone else and she looked up to him and he stepped into the father role for her, which was a good thing. And then um 18, fast forward to 18, 17, she graduated high school, she started college, she was taking her classes to become a registered nurse. She had gotten certified to do lashes. I loved her lashes. And I loved her doing my lashes. So then at 18 though, right? In the beginning part of COVID, maybe about 6 months or so, into COVID is when, the worst devastation happened in our life and uh didn't know how we were going to process that. But she she uh let's see, one night we were at home. She was a little bit bothered, not sure what she was bothered about or why. We do our family prayer. We were praying that night, and I could see something was a little bit off with her. And I'm sharing with her, and I'm like, "Well, what's going on? Do you want to pray about it or talk about it?" And she was just very closed off. So she went in her room and said she was going to talk to some friends about it, and she did. So I went in my room and I left her alone. And then the next morning, she told me she wasn't feeling well. Uh, I she texted me on the phone, even though we were in the same house, and I went in her room and she didn't look well. And I asked her what was going on, and she said she didn't feel good, she didn't sleep well, her heart was racing. And so, me being a nurse, I assessed her, tried to see what was going on, and I realized that it was something more than what I could handle at home. So I called 911 and sent her to the hospital. Followed the ambulance to the hospital. She's walking, she's talking, she's alert and oriented. Everything is good. They're going to do their assessment. I leave and go to work. I really think everything is going to be, totally fine. And I worked in Lady Lake at the time at Fresenius, a dialysis company. And that was maybe about 9, 10 in the morning. And I went to work around 3 or so. I got a call from the doctor. They're saying they are going to go ahead and admit her and observe her and see. They talk to her and they're just going to check her out. Well, 45 minutes later, I get a call from the physician. No, sorry, the nurse called me and said, she is crying for you. She's having difficulty breathing, and we're going to have to admit her to the ICU. And they're going to intubate her, which was like, wait a minute, what's going on? And to get that call at work, my heart stopped. I was confused. I felt afraid and scared. I just didn't know what was going on. It was hard for me to process it, even though I had been a nurse for many years. So I'm like, I'm 50 minutes away. They was like, they made exceptions with the hospital administrator to allow me in because it was COVID time and they weren't allowing visitors. And I, being a woman of faith, did what only thing I knew to do. I started a group chat, text messages with prayer warriors and my pastors. And I was just like, I need you to pray. I don't know what's going on or what none of this means, but my daughter is getting intubated. I'm 50 minutes away from her and it's raining. So just pray for me and pray for her. And to walk into that room and see her with tubes coming out of her and restrained, and she was fighting, it it took like something out of me. It was very, very hard to witness. And, I just sat down beside her and stroked her arm, let her know I was there to try to get her to calm down so that they could take the restraints off of her. And, that process went on for about a week. We were at the hospital, and long story short, she didn't make it out. And that changed my world because she was my why. She was the reason that I did the things that I did. And to think about a future without her in it was hard to do. It took my breath away. It physically affected my heart to the point I had to start seeing a cardiologist. They did all kind of tests. I started taking medication. Just like it was a challenging time to get through life without the one who had saved my life.
You basically birthed her, but she saved your life.
She did.
And children have a tendency to do that to us because before the child, we just live for us. I can remember the first time holding my first child. It's like how you eat too much salt and it's like a tingling feeling go through your body. And it just different. I mean, it's just at that point you realize I no longer live for me. I live for someone else. Someone else is dependent on me.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that your daughter, she started nursing school. So, and I'm quite sure, her seeing you, as a good example, I want to be like mommy. You know what I mean? And that's probably a wonderful thing for her to look up and for you to know that she want to follow in your footsteps. Even though, you say, you didn't want to be a third, fourth generation farmer. You know what I mean? And, and it's so important. That shows us how important choices is in life, and generational curses and things of that nature. When you, Yolanda Mitchum, can make one decision to change the trajectory of everyone after you. How important is that, ma'am?
That is huge. That is so huge. And I want to do that. You bring that up, and this is a different area or topic, but when it comes to health, I want to. My grandmother died of a stroke. My grandfather died of a heart attack. I mentioned that my mom was a caregiver for many of her siblings. My mom had a stroke. Thank God she lived for 15 years after her stroke, but many of her siblings died of a stroke or a heart attack. Only one of them died of cancer. And I wanted to change the trajectory of the health for my children. And being a nurse, being aware of strokes and heart attacks and what lead up to those chronic diseases. I was a dialysis nurse for 14 years. So understanding that diabetes and hypertension are the number one and number two cause of renal failure.
Okay, explain when you say hypertension. What do you mean by that, ma'am?
High blood pressure.
High blood pressure.
So your blood pressure being high, and many times our blood pressure is high or elevated and we don't even know it because we don't take the time to go to the doctor to get checked out.
Explain to my audience the damage that high blood pressure does to the heart.
So, high blood pressure over time, it affects the vessels. It can cause blockages and lead to strokes and heart attacks, cause your kidneys to fail. It really causes a lot of stress on your whole body, as well as diabetes, which is too much sugar. So if we don't know where our numbers are, we can't, address it. And sometimes we can know where they are. And as a woman of faith, I see in the faith community that people want to pray and trust God. It is well to pray and trust God. I pray and trust God, but God also places nurses and doctors here and tools to help us. So we can exercise. I believe in that too. You can make the adjustments, but until you do, it's good to take the medication that you need.
faith without works is dead.
That is correct.
So you can have all the faith you want that you're going to get the job, but if you don't go and fill out the application, you're not going to get the job. And with that being said, God places people on this earth for certain things. He placed doctors. He's blessed doctors with knowledge and hospitals and this technology with knowledge to help us, and we have to take advantage of that. Correct, ma'am?
That's right. We do.
You say your daughter was in ballet, huh?
Yeah, she did ballet.
How did she get involved in that?
Oh, well, as a parent, you want to expose them to different things to see what they're going to like. So we put her in tap. We put her in ballet, martial arts,
What do you think she took to the most,
Actually, she ended up not liking any of them. She didn't want to do sports. She didn't want to continue dancing. But we exposed her to different things so she could choose.
At least she could say, "Hey, I ain't really like that."
Yes.
You know what I mean? And that's good, ma'am. It's so important to give our children options. And give them the opportunity. I talked to Jamie Gilmore. He have a Cut Different program, which is an excellent program.
Excellent. My son is a part of that program.
Yes, and he said he don't take them on field trips. And me in your days, we went on field trips. He said he called them exposure trips.
Yes.
Because he's exposing them to things that they normally wouldn't be able to see, so they can dream bigger. They know that it's possible. You know what I mean? So if she don't have to wonder, I wonder what would have happened if I would have went to ballet. She know what would happen. She realized I didn't like it. My toes hurt. I don't like the way this thing make me feel, That's so important, ma'am. I noticed you mentioned your faith and you say, you immediately thought to reach out to prayer warriors concerning this situation. How important is prayer, ma'am?
Listen, prayer is number one to me. I feel like that's our communication with God. And he'll speak back through people, the Bible, situations, billboard, maybe even a talk show host. God can use anybody to speak back to us, but prayer is our communication with him. Give us an opportunity to be transparent and share with him what's going on and to ask. If we think about how God created the earth, it was with words. So if we don't pray or speak things, they can't come to pass. We can't get answers to our prayers if we don't pray. So I think that's very important. And it's important when you have people around you that's able to pray. So I didn't get the outcome that I was praying for, and that was for my daughter to live. But the prayer and the support, it gave me strength. It gave me comfort. It gave me support. It gave me wisdom on how to get through. So I think prayer is very important.
Did you get angry with God through this situation?
That is a common question that I am asked, and I never got angry with God. And I don't say that to minimize those that do get angry, because in my line of profession, I see a lot of people get angry with God. And I have compassion and empathy because I understand. I'll tell you why I never got angry with God. It's because I could see his hand in my daughter's life from the time that she was born, and the impact that she had on me. She was a gift, one of the greatest gifts outside of salvation and my other son that God has given me. But her gift was so special to me because it saved my life. And I had so many wonderful years with her. I am grateful to God that he chose me to be her mother. And I saw favor with the doctors. I saw favor with the nurses. In the midst of COVID, I was able to go in there every single day, which was not supposed to happen. She was an organ donor, so other people got to experience life and their loved one as a result of her dying. Not the way that I would have wanted it to be, but I could see God's hand and his favor, and I'm grateful. I miss her every day. I miss my baby, but I cannot take away what she meant to me when she was here. So I couldn't get angry with a God that gave me such a great blessing in her.
You know, sometimes when we go through tragedy, you know, you may not get angry, but sometimes you question. You know, and I've asked God, you know, when you think about prayer, prayer is just communicating, you know. And sometimes we go to him, we respect him and we have reverence, but he knows what's in your heart.
That's right.
Anyway, so, you know, I talk to him straight up. You know, man, come on, God, man, Lord, I go to prison, I do 18 years, man, I come home, spinal surgery, man, I can't, you know what I mean? Why I get dealt this hand, man? Come on, man. You know what I mean? I talk to him straight up, just like that. You know, and all I know is God told me podcast. Lord, how this gonna provide for my family? How this gonna help me? What is it? You know, but I know one thing, I'd rather be in his will than out of his will.
That's right.
And every step of the way, he just somehow or another, it happens. You know, and you know how it is having a nonprofit. You know, sometimes, you know how some people could be with donations and things of that nature, but you know, we here.
You got to obey God.
It's happening. You know what I mean? And it may not come in the form of, you know, me meeting you and you shared your story, your organization with me. You know, H3 Haven. And, you know, and I thought about your daughter's birthday being tomorrow. And I thought about your organization, how you do so many wonderful things for so many other people. And sometimes we so used to giving till it's hard for us to receive, you know? And I feel honored to be able to have this episode with you, and we're going to put this out tomorrow, October 15th, which is a special day in your life, your family life, you know, for years to come, your son's life, you know, in the honor of your daughter. And this is me, TLC Robinson, my way of giving back to you, ma'am, for the things that you do in our community. And I feel very, very privileged to be able to do that for you. You know, you say you have a son, huh?
Yes.
Is it different raising boys and girls?
It's a little different. It's a little different, but it's fun. I enjoy raising a boy too. He just turned 12 on October the 11th.
Okay. So what's the October the 11th, October the 15th? You better count back them 9 months. It's the danger zone now.
January.
Yeah, January, February. Them New Year's and Valentine's Day. Watch out now. You know, but ma'am, you know, kids are such a joy. And you know, and I had a friend, he lost his daughter during COVID. And he say sometimes, you know, his other daughters, they married, got husbands, everything. He'll call them 2:00 in the morning. And his wife gets on him. You can't be calling them that late. He said, I call them anytime I want to. If they busy, they won't answer, or they can hang up the phone and say, Dad, I'm asleep. And he was explaining it to me. When you've lost something, it makes you cling hold to what you have. And he said, I'm going to call my babies anytime I want to. And see, you know, a man, you know, when it comes to his wife, hey, don't be aggravating my wife at night. But you know what I mean? But that's my daughter. I call my daughter when I want to. And her husband better not dare say don't call his wife because that's my daughter. You know, so it's a little, you have to always view it from the other side, you know. And do you notice that you find yourself clinging to your son more?
I wouldn't say that I cling to him more, but I'm not the same parent that I was when I was raising Amaria. You know, I'm older, I'm wiser, I have more understanding and more tools. So I would say that I am more intentional with my son and I listen. So it may not be a whole lot of time, but I give him the space to share and I give him the freedom to say whatever he's feeling.
Is he spoiled?
He's spoiled. He real spoiled.
For real, for real.
Yeah, you look small.
You think it's more detrimental to a daughter or a son to have their father in their life, or is it equal?
I think they're both equal. I think it's very important, and I can go back to Amaria. Her relationship with her biological dad was very significant in her life. And then when I got married, she desired to have that level of relationship with my ex-husband. And now I watch my ex-husband with my son, and it is very important. You know, he's going to learn skills and learn how to be a man from his father. That's things that a mother couldn't teach. And boys have a different level of respect for a man. They listen to mama and they respect mama, but when daddy talk, it's a little different. They can
Right.
get away with things with us. You know,
Yeah.
they can pull on our heartstring and know that we're
You-
gonna give in.
You know, most men want a son, but they don't realize the importance of how a daughter affects a man's life until that daughter is born.
Mhm.
You know, I remember my first child in there with the sonogram thing, and the lady like, well, I guess it's a girl. I say, well, I don't see nothing. She said, well, you don't see anything hanging. I said, I ain't seen nothing else either. And she kept pushing around on that stomach. And man, I seen that cheeseburger just as plain as day. I said, oh Lord, I was so angry. I walked out of the room. I wanted a son so bad, you know, but my daughter changed my life so much. And I think that the importance of a present father in the life of his daughter is irreplaceable.
That's right.
Because how would she know what to look for in a man without her father? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
How would she be used to having authority in her life from a male figure if it's not her father? You know, and I think that I got a son and I have two daughters. My son love daddy now. Now I can't. I almost made a statement that I don't know. My boy love his daddy. You know what I mean? But you know them daughters, man, and I remember like I got a daughter, and like I said, I went to prison for 18 years. When I left, she was 2, so she don't remember me, and she moved away. So my first time seeing her was the day I came home. Now I'm looking at an 18, 19-year-old woman before me, and I remember the first time she called me, and she brought new outfits, and she wanted me to see her in her outfits. And I'm thinking, what the world? You know what I mean? This is abnormal for me, and I've learned to not to say. She's asking me, which one, Daddy? Which one you like the best? I learned to not to say which one I like the best. I just say, that's nice too. That's nice because what's wrong with this one? You know what I mean? But it's just experience. You know the ups and the downs and the lessons. So let me ask you. With that being said, ma'am, from you raising a son, what lessons have you learned from your son, from raising a male child?
I learned that, you got to give him space. You got to let him process because he processed a little bit different than I do. It's different than raising a girl, and to give him his time with his dad. He wants me to do the boy stuff with him, and I'm like, we not going outside and doing baseball.
Mama's girly girl.
Yes.
So,
I'm gonna go cheer for you though.
what kind of message you would have to mothers, single mothers that kind of, sometimes they have a bitter thing with the father and they kind of keep them away from the child. You know, that affects the child in the long run. What kind of message would you give? Because you say, you was out of a relationship with ex-husband, but they still remain in your children's life. How important is that, ma'am?
I think that's very important. Um, Communication is important. So try to work with the co-parent to focus on the child. Sometimes relationships are bitter or, there's animosity in the relationship, but just trying to focus on the child, maybe exploring counseling to see how you can effectively do that. And then ensuring that it's a safe place because sometimes the situations are not safe for, any child. But as long as the situation is safe, detach your feelings, get out of your feelings and focus on the child, what's best for them.
I noticed that you said earlier that as you was younger, you had some medical issues and you contemplated suicide and certain things of that nature. And I see you today, you got one of the biggest, brightest smiles I ever seen in my life. How did you get from point A to point B, ma'am? Walk us through that journey.
So the first thing, Amaria being born, that gave me a reason to live. It was no longer about me, but it was about this little girl that didn't ask to come here. So that was the first thing. And then I learned to love myself. I learned to see the value in me. And once I did that, it really didn't matter what someone else said about me or how they felt about me. I knew it wasn't true. So just validating your self-worth. And you do that in different ways. You can get into the word of God, implementing the word of God. You can get around people who see value in you. You can go to counseling and therapy. I did all of those things just to see the value in me and to love myself.
I'm going to ask you to do something, ma'am. You ready for this?
Sure, why not?
I want you to look directly into that camera over there and tell me what you see.
I see a happy, beautiful woman. Just happy and beautiful.
And that's something you should never forget, ma'am. And
Yes.
and I'm glad that you have overcame the thoughts of the past. And God does everything for a reason. Maybe Amara was born just for the purpose that she served in your life. He gives us just what we need. If we pray for patience, he gives you problems so you can learn patience.
That's true.
And I never met your daughter, but the way you describe, I'm quite sure she was a lovely young lady. And sometimes, we have our purpose in life. We don't understand it. We don't have to understand it. I always tell people, some people complain about this or we can't do this, we can't do that. I say one thing about it. We'll find out when we see him. You know what I mean? Certain things I hold firm on. I say, well, Jesus, I said, I got to tell me about it when I get there. You know what I mean? But, ma'am, it is, how important is, when people are dealing with things in life, I'm quite sure, like you say, sclerosis and things like that. I kind of like with my spine and everything, I kind of deal with that. Sometimes I have rough days and things of that nature. And I can understand, and being a youth, when you're a child, kids can be cruel because they don't understand. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, with everything being said, you had these thoughts prior to you having your daughter. So you was at a younger age at the time, so now you blossomed pretty well here. So Do you remember some of those little boys that was doing the picking and poking, and now all of a sudden it's can I have your phone number?
No. Actually, I purge that stuff. I purge it. Who said what didn't really matter. I am quick to forgive. I don't hold grudges even then. I asked a question like, why me at the time? And I internalized the things that was going on. But I see some of my classmates that had ill things to say to me or whatever. But I don't hold grudges.
Look at me now, huh?
Yeah, I don't hold grudges.
So, H3 Haven,
Yes.
health, hope, and healing. I'm quite sure, we all have a journey, and we, and I'm big on names and the choosing of this name. Tell me why. How did you come up with this name of your company, ma'am?
So the nonprofit organization H3 Haven, Haven is a safe place. I want this to be a safe place where individuals can experience health, hope, and healing. It's based on 3 pillars. Health is our physical health. I mentioned how I've been a nurse for 2 decades, knowing that many of the disease processes is caused by a loss, whether or it can cause grief. In my personal life, having to get EKGs, stress tests, echocardiograms, be under the care of a cardiologist at 36 years old when my daughter died, that was huge. So it not only can cause us to go into a health crisis when we experience major losses, but when you experience a major loss, whether it be cancer or renal failure, you go through grief. So want to approach it, grief from a physical standpoint and use tools and resources to help individuals better their health, whether it's a personal trainer or whether it's a fitness coach or a health coach to correct your diet, reverse your numbers. Because many people don't even realize that when you have diabetes or hypertension, you can reverse it. So maybe you need medication for a temporary period of time, but you can take action steps that can improve that can reduce the number of medications, that can reverse the situation. So that's the first pillar of health, bringing my healthcare experience to H3 Haven to pull together resources to help individuals improve their health. I've been doing health fairs and seminars for a long time, probably 15 years in the community, just to help people control their health. And even when I went to Tampa too.
And when the first part of the H3 is the health,
yes.
How important is self-love when it comes to the health?
It is very important. And that goes into the third H, but self-love is important because when you love yourself and you want to love your children, I talked about passing down a legacy of health. I mean, that's the best thing we can do. Our health is our wealth. We want to pass down money, but if we can pass down health so they can enjoy the money and they can enjoy the lifestyle that you leave for them, I think that's important. It cuts down on expenses, doctor bills, and the quality of life.
Okay, let's talk about the second H, which is hope.
It's hope. Well, my hope is built on Jesus Christ alone. I believe in Jesus Christ. This is a faith-based organization, although some parts of it may not mention God, may not mention Jesus, and not religious oriented, but the hope part is Jesus Christ. When I became a nurse, my mission, and I remember writing it when I was in school, is to share God's love with the world, one patient at a time. And you can show Jesus Christ to people without a scripture, without a Bible, without taking them to church. How I work at a prison right now. How I care for those inmates is ministering Christ to them. That is my purpose for this season in my life. And it's an act of worship to God when I do that. So I'm ministering to my coworkers because maybe some of them want to be the judge and jury for some of the inmates because of their crime. But when they see me treat them, regardless of their crime or their offense, with love, that's ministering Jesus to them. I'm giving them hope and maybe even their dignity. Maybe they feel bad or guilty for what they did, or, maybe they're angry and they're still doing things in prison that are not right, but for someone still to come and treat them with love and compassion, so I want to be a light, be a embodiment of Jesus on earth. And so if I can help minister to somebody's physical health and then their emotional healing, then I can offer Christ to them. How did you get through it? It was God. It was Jesus that brought me through. Without him, I'm nothing. So hope is the middle one, but that's the foundation of it all. Without him, I'm nothing.
We say we are Christians. The word Christian just simply means a follower of Christ.
Right.
And to come in, like I say, how important is it for you when you step out of that car to put on that bright smile of yours? Because consistency, working in prison, me being in prison for 18 years, as a staff member, the inmate will respect you if you be consistently who you are. If you're going to come in with the smiley face, but she got a smiley face every day. If she going to come in with the frowny face, boy, you should go frowny facey. They got nicknames for you. Whether you know it, I don't know what yours is, but they got nicknames for you. That's what you do on that side. But consistency. And with your smile, someone may ask you, man, why are you always smiling? How can you come in and smile every day? And that opens the door for you to tell them Jesus.
Right.
So
I say great morning. I say great morning. They come up, get their medicine, great morning. So some of the inmates have started catching on, great morning, great morning. And then one time I said great morning and I didn't smile. She was like, wait a minute. Where's the smile with the great morning? How can it be a great morning if you're not smiling? So they are used to me saying great morning and smiling.
And you'll be surprised what you pass on to them and what you may be the only bright light in their day. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You may be the only smiley face that they feel is genuine throughout their whole entire day. My thing is, have anybody told you they love you today? But I started that in prison. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine? I'm in prison. A man walk up to another man. What's up, bro? Anybody told you they love you today? He looking at me like I'm crazy or something. You know what I mean? For me to come home and your love language is different. You know what I mean? It's like you're an alien, to the people around you. It's some time I ask people, people I interview, anybody told you they love you today? They might have a husband or a wife. How can you wake up beside your husband and wife and don't open your eyes and say, I love you? Kids leave home, parents, that don't mean they don't love them, but, the cares of the world that the Bible talked about. Mm-hmm. We have a tendency to forget how important is it to be told that I love you.
It's very important. I mentioned earlier, I didn't feel love growing up. Now I know that my parents loved me. As an adult looking back, and even as I got older, I realized that they loved me, but they just showed it in different ways. Their parents, my dad was born in Mississippi in 1928. So, and he left home when he was a very young teenager, like in middle school, stopped going to school in 6th grade. So, and my mom, they had farm life. They had to get up in the morning, take care of all these animals, do the farm, do this, do that. It was 11 or 12 of them. So they had to work. Their parents was constantly working. So her way of showing love to me was providing for me, making sure I didn't lack, And so they didn't tell me that they loved me, but it was important to me that I hear it. So it is important that we tell our children that we love them and that we be the first voice to communicate to them their worth. because I struggled with that because I didn't have that.
We only could pass down what we know. You can't give somebody something you don't have. And sometimes we be so stubborn to where, well, mom always said this, dad always did it like that. And because they may be gone, we try to honor them even in foolishness.
Right.
Even in stupidity. Even in ignorance, we try to honor them in that. But when you know better, you do better.
Right.
You learn quick.
So you got to be open to learn. And then you got to seek. The Bible says, seek and you shall find. So I didn't like the situation I was in. And then when I had my daughter, I wanted to find new ways to do it. How can I do this differently? And so you seek and you find. But you got to first acknowledge that this is a problem, that I need help. I can't continue doing it that way. And we don't know that until we decide in ourselves or we see something different. I saw something different, so I knew that there was a different way. I just had to learn how.
A big part of your organization, you're also a grief counselor. Why is it so hard for people to look in the mirror? I'm talking about really look in the mirror.
So I am a grief specialist. I want to clarify that as different than counselors.
Okay.
My license is in nursing, but I have gotten certified to help people, and I have the experience. So I have the certification and the experience, which is proof that I can walk you through grief and loss. But it's hard for individuals to acknowledge grief because it hurts. And then we have to admit that we need help. So admitting is being vulnerable and transparent. And we're not comfortable doing that with everybody. It's a level of trust. Individuals have to trust you in order to open up to you. I'm not just going to open up to someone I don't trust.
And see, that's where that smile come in handy. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You've been smiling to this patient for 3 months. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden, grief hits them. Now they feel like they can speak to you because you exuberate welcome. You're welcome. When you sit down and ask them how their day was, and it's so important to have the right attitude. Hospitality is so important in your field, ma'am. It got to be at one of the top things, being hospitable, right?
Mm-hmm. It is. And that's true. So being consistent, when individuals see that you're consistent and that they can trust you, then when they need you, they can open up to you. They'll feel safe.
So on the hope part, that's where the faith come in at. But then we have the healing. Mm-hmm. After you went through these things, the health issues, and and we self-love and we overcome and we pray and we believe in God. And then the next and the final step is the healing process. Because, even though we walk through the shadow of the valley of death, you shall fear no evil because I am with you.
Yes.
So when we come out the other side of these health issues and we have self-love for ourselves and we pray out to God and whoever we choose to believe in, now it's time for the healing process. Walk us through the healing, ma'am.
So the third pillar of H through Haven is healing. And I went through professional counseling. That's somebody that went to school and they studied, and either they're a licensed social worker or a psychologist or psychiatrist. I went through that process as well for my personal journey. I did it when Amaria died, and I have been in counseling before. I am a supporter of traditional counseling. However, when my daughter died, I needed something different, something more than, and I found grief recovery. It changed my life. It not only helped me deal with the death of my daughter, but it also helped me go back into my childhood and deal with those hurts and losses that I had experienced and not just covered up, right? Because I covered them up. God gave me a gift in Amaria, and I was able to persevere and become very successful in my career. but it was allowing me to go back and deal with those hurts and those unresolved pains that I had from my childhood. And then 6 months after my daughter died, my mother died. I had the tools that I needed to process that. It doesn't make it hurt any less. It doesn't make my grief insignificant, but I had the tools from grief recovery that I was able to deal with that. And then I got divorced. So my ex-husband and I separated in 2022, and our divorce was finalized last summer. I was able to go through that, and people would check on me and they would ask, "How are you doing?" And I was doing well.
Doing jumping jacks.
I was doing well. And they was like, "Oh, well, you're making that up." And no, I was really doing well because I began to process my grief and my loss and the pain that I felt while I was still in the marriage, going through the separation and the divorce. So by the time divorce day came, I felt nothing. Like I didn't feel good, bad. I wasn't happy or sad. It was another day. And it was because I had the tools from the grief recovery. And that's what I offer individuals. See, people think that grief recovery, what I do is just about death and maybe divorce, but it's not. It's about giving you life skills and life tools that can help you deal with every loss of your life. Grief recovery is for everyone. 100% of us have lost something or someone. I don't care if it was a dog, a cat, a boyfriend, a college roommate,
A job.
finances. It's so many different losses that you can have. Maybe a car, maybe your safety in one house and y'all had to move to another city. COVID happened. One of my clients' friends said to me that they were sad and depressed and they couldn't figure out why. Everything was good in their life and they couldn't figure out why. Well, they had a travel company, and when COVID happened, they couldn't do what they loved. And they realized after speaking with me that they were grieving that and they couldn't identify it. So they were rebuking and praying, thinking that it was a spirit of oppression or depression, when really it was just grief.
What's the difference in grief and depression? For those who struggling with, am I depressed or I'm just going through a situation? Or what is the difference? Or is there a difference?
So we can have bouts of depression and then we can have clinical depression. So it's okay and it's perfectly normal for me to get sad, not want to brush my teeth, not want to go out and do anything. I just want to be at home. My mom just died. I don't want to be around people. I want to, be to myself. Okay, I'm having bouts of depression. But if this is going on where you can't function and it's for a long period of time, 3-6 months, you may need some medication to help you through that. So that is depression. And everybody experiences bouts of depression. It doesn't mean you're not saved. It doesn't mean, you're not praying enough or something's wrong with you. That's perfectly normal. Grief is simply the normal and natural reaction to loss of any kind. And as we just mentioned, we only mentioned a few, that it can be any loss. And how do I feel about it? It's a normal and natural reaction to that loss.
I noticed you kept using the word process. You said when I was going through this process, the process of this, my thought process, when I went through the process of my mother, my husband, my divorce, I went through the process. It helped me deal with the process. Is there a certain formula you have to help you through that you learned? What are some of the most important things you learned about yourself doing counseling?
That I could be transparent, that I need to find that safe place where I don't have to put on a mask. Nobody's expecting me to be strong. I got that so much. You're so strong. You're like the strongest woman I know. Like, how can you go through all these losses back to back and still love God and still praise God and still serve him and not be angry? Like, you're so strong. Well, just knowing that it's okay for me not to be strong. And I'm not doing this to be strong or to prove anything to anybody. I'm authentically me. And if I want to cry, if I want to go to Cold Stone and get me a half a gallon of cake batter ice cream and eat it, that's what I'm gonna
If you're getting vanilla, let me know.
do. Cake batter, cake batter,
Cake.
cake batter.
You know, it's so important, ma'am, how, you know, to watch a caterpillar transform into a butterfly. You know, there's a little pushing and shoving got to go on. That caterpillar got to have some willpower to fight through that cocoon to come out beautiful on the other side. And as you look back over your life, what would you tell the 16, 17-year-old Yolanda?
That the life you experience now is not the life that's come. That greater is coming. You know, that your latter will be greater. Like I had no idea the 16, 17-year-old Yolanda that life could be this good. I had no idea. And so don't give up. Keep seeking, you know, growth, personal development. Don't stop. Don't stop learning and growing.
You know, as far as your nonprofit, you know, tell my my audience, you know, how can they reach out to you? How can they, you know, seek your help? You know, your services rather.
So the number 3, haven.org is our website. We're on social media, Facebook, Instagram. We're on LinkedIn. You can sign up for one of our free classes. I just recently did one last week where we can come and sit and talk. I give information. You can invite me out to your family reunion, to your organization, your business, your staff meeting. I'll come out. I can do a workshop. I can give you information. I can do a presentation as a public speaker. I have 8-week groups that my next one starts on October 22nd. It's online, grief recovery, evidence-based program that changed my life and gave me tools that I just want to share with everybody who is willing to receive them and apply them to their life. I promise you that you will leave those 8 weeks knowing more about grief and having the tools that you need that not only can help you, but can help others. I also have a 4-week class called Helping Children with Loss. And I have that one starting on October 29th because when I look back to my childhood and I think this is the place that I wish my parents had. So they could have recognized and identified things that was going on in my life that could have helped me. And it's the place that I wish I had when Amaria's dad died. So I could have had more tools to help her.
What does the perfect man looks like?
Oh, there's no perfect man or perfect woman.
What qualities, name 3 qualities, your top 3 qualities that makes a good husband?
One that is authentic and true to themselves, that communicates well and love God.
Amen to those 3. You know, why do you think there's so many broken families? Why do you think there's so many single women?
First of all, I think that the enemy does not want the institution of marriage to flourish. And so it's being attacked from many different angles. I think it's important to have a man in a household, not only for the children, but also for the woman. You know, a woman wants to be protected and provided for. They want that security. And marriage is beautiful. You know, marriage is the example of our relationship with Christ. And I think that's why it's being attacked so much. You know, Christ loves us so much. God loves us so much that he gave his son for us. And Jesus was the model of how uh, a marriage is supposed to look. And I think people get that twisted to think that the husband is supposed to be perfect because Jesus was perfect. That's not the message that, God gave me anyway. Maybe that's the message that God gave somebody else through the word. But the message that I get from that is when I see Jesus operating in the scripture, he was moved with compassion. He loved us so much. He gave for us. And then as a result, we, the Christians, we want to worship. We want to honor him and respect him and serve him. And I think that is the example of how marriage is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a revolving circle where there's love, respect, and adoration going. And we have that broken because we don't have Jesus in there. So that relationship with Jesus Christ first in a man is paramount, because if he doesn't have a relationship with Christ, then he's not going to know how to love you like Christ loved you. I think with men, if you look at their relationship with Christ, if they see Christ as an angry God or a loving God, it's going to be reflected in how they treat their woman.
You think men and women love differently?
Yes.
Explain that.
So I'm not an expert in the matter, but from my experience, I think that women respond to men. So now some women are just going to do regardless, but I think that women respond to men and they respect men for how they treat them, for how they provide for them, how they protect them. When a man is confident in who he is and shows love and respect for that woman, there's nothing that a woman wouldn't do for him.
Facts. I believe that just as well as a man will straight himself up in the presence of a true woman, I believe that a woman will naturally bask in her feminist in the presence of a true man. Spirit see spirit. I'm a firm believer in that. Spirit see spirit. And we know you don't see chihuahuas running out the house jumping on pit bulls. They know that that's a pit bull over there. You understand what I'm saying? And with that being said, a true woman is not going to tolerate certain things in her life. You know what I mean? She's going to have a certain level of respect for herself, and a man will instantly recognize that. In the future, I'm going to have a panel of all men, and one of the topics going to be, how do you choose your wife? What makes you marry this woman and not that woman? You understand what I'm saying? Because, intimacy lies in the hand of the woman. Marriage lies in the hand of the man. Because you can be everything you think you need to be, but it's up to a man to ask you to marry him.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And sometimes we have to listen, because if I'm telling you what kind of car I like, what kind of car I like, don't tell me what you like in the car. If you're going to be the car, quote unquote, you have to present yourself to what I like. I remember, when they build new communities, they have these meetings and they'll pay you a couple $100 to come sit down for them to hear your thoughts. What would you like? They pay you to come in there to tell them what you think is more important than one of the other. So when they build this community, it'll be what the people want. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's kind of like the same thing, how important is love language and being able to explain and express your love language to your partner?
That's very important. I think, as we mentioned before, listening to what they have to say, having that open dialogue and communication, that's very important. We talk about the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, but it's a little bit deeper than that. Yes. Because I like Cold Stone ice cream, but I heard you say you like vanilla ice cream.
Yeah.
So if I want to give you a gift and be a blessing to you, would I bring you Cold Stone cake batter ice cream, or would I bring you vanilla? No, I heard what you got to say. I would like for you to bring me cake batter, but I'm going to bring you vanilla because that's what you like. Take the time to get to know what that person wants and give them what they want, not what you want them to have.
Right. And I remember being in a relationship and the young lady, I said, well, let's order some pizza or something. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I pay for it. Let's get the pizza. And when I get to the house, she got some Papa John's there. Now, me, I'm kind of I believe in the relationship, we need, I show my hand early, so ain't nobody wasting nobody's time. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm like, I appreciate the Papa John. That's something she always liked, or maybe him before me liked Papa John. That what she used to getting. But, this a Pizza Hut house now. You know what I'm saying? Now, if we gonna get pizza, swing on by the hut. You know what I'm saying? Deep, personal pan, meat lovers. You know what I mean? So, and it's just, but when we talk about love language, like you may be a touch person. That's your love language. You may like to touch. You may be more affectionate. I may be a gift buyer. So to me, when I want to express my love to you, I buy you gifts when you're not a materialistic woman. It may mean absolutely nothing to you. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, it don't mean nothing. It just don't mean as much.
As much. What I mean by, I used to, when you young man, you see things, and my baby brother father raised me most of my life. And he was a very kind man. He would do a lot of surprises for my mom. It didn't have to be no holiday. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I adopted that into my life. Unconsciously, I would find myself doing these things. So I'm the type of man where, it's just roses on the job. Just because I love you. Daddy love you. Ain't no holiday. It's just because I love you. And get to the point to where when the man walk in the lobby with the flowers, they just go ahead and call her name. They already know who it's for. But see, it's so many flowers until it became common to her. So they don't mean anything anymore. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I think that's where marriages go wrong because we get common. We let things get common. And I never could understand, even though I've been through it myself, a divorce, how can I get down on my knee and ask you to marry me? Out of all the women in the world, I ask you. And then it get to the point where we can't stand in the same room. That's crazy. Actually, what happened? You know what I mean? What happened? When you used to call, oh man, when you touch my hand, I get tingly, all these things. And now I get to the point where you touch them, they pushing your hand away. That's crazy. What happened? Why do you think these things take place? I mean, what do you think, to every problem, there's a solution. What do you think we can do to improve upon these to keep it going? What do you think some of the essential things to keep it like it was in the beginning, extend that honeymoon longer?
I don't have a new answer. Keep the lines of communication open. Really listen to what your partner is saying and make adjustments.
What would you do in a situation to where it's something that I do or it's an area that I lack in, but you really love me, but it may be sensitive to me, or I may get offended. And I think sometimes we go on living a life because I don't want to offend her. I don't want to hurt her feelings. Rather than being able to communicate properly and say, well, baby, hey, this is that. You know what I mean? I like this, I don't like that. You know what I mean? And sometimes we don't want to offend the other person. How often you think that take place?
I think it happens a lot, more often than not. But again, you got to be able to communicate. If that's your life partner, you got to be able to communicate everything.
Yeah. You know, ma'am, we're gonna play a game called Fill in the Blank.
Fill in the blank.
I'm gonna ask you some questions. You ask them quickly, precisely. First thing come to mind. Ain't no right or wrong. You ready?
Ready.
I've always wanted to.
I don't know. Jump out of airplane.
I love when someone.
Tell me they love me.
If I had to do it all over again, I would.
Be a nurse. I would do the same thing.
My favorite holiday is.
My birthday.
If I could have dinner with anyone in the world, it would be.
My new husband.
My favorite fruit is.
Mango.
It aggravates me when people.
Lie.
The best quality someone can have is.
Honesty.
If I was God, the first thing I would change is.
Cancer.
My childhood crush was.
Shamar Moore.
If I could travel anywhere in the world, it would be.
Africa.
My favorite movie is.
Facing the Giant.
If I could go back to any age, it would be.
27.
Jesus is.
My everything.
When I meet someone, the first thing I notice is.
Their smile.
If I was God, if I could ask God one question, it would be.
Why you wrote my story like this?
My greatest strength is.
Honesty.
My greatest weakness is.
Talking. Too much.
The biggest misconception about me is.
I flirt with everybody.
I draw a line in the sand if you.
I don't know. I don't know what I would draw a line in the sand about.
If I had to star in a movie with any actor, it would be.
Angela Bassett.
Bugs Bunny or Pink Panther.
Bugs Bunny.
Whitney Houston or Mariah Carey.
Whitney Houston.
Jennifer Hudson or Fantasia.
Fantasia.
Denzel Washington or Samuel Jackson.
Denzel.
Love of basketball or Love Jones.
Love of basketball.
Poetic justice or soul food.
Poetic justice.
Okay, so this part of the segment is called AMA, where
AMA.
you, Yolanda Mitchum, get to ask me, William Robinson, anything.
What was your hardest podcast interview?
I don't hardest. I don't know if it's I don't know what I would say hardest, but I think some of them has been very educational. I just did an episode with a guy by the name of Floyd Magwood. I haven't released it yet. He's a insurance. He's a insurance agent, a marketing agent for a very, very large company. And he really give us the breakdown on homeowners insurance, car insurance, most important, life insurance and disability insurance. And, you know, it's very seldom we have minorities in his position. So this type of information is not handed to us as a people most of the time. And he give us quite a few gems in there. You know, and also meeting Mr. Busby, he just ran for sheriff, was a very I learned a lot from him. I learned a lot. I don't know everything, but it's very few I gather from, you know, and I learned a lot from that man. And just the campaign within itself, you know, was very detrimental to my growth. And also, I believe the most prosperous and special interview is the one I'm in right now. As always, so the next interview will replace you. So right now it's all about you.
All right. All right. So none of them were hard for you to do?
I don't think it was hard because I would do my my research and I'm naturally curious. So I do enough to be curious. I want to ask you the questions that my audience is wondering as they watch this podcast. And I think this come natural to me. I think, when God tell you to do something, most of the time it's something you may not want to do, but he gives you the ability to do it. And, I could talk, you know what I'm saying? I'm not afraid of people. My former life, I used to do music and rap and do concerts and all this stuff. So I'm not afraid of getting in front of people and speaking. So I think this comes natural to me.
Okay. Thank you.
Any more questions?
No more questions.
Okay, ma'am. So this is the final part of this episode. It's called Final Thoughts. You're going to look into this camera directly over my shoulder here. And you're going to give your final thoughts to the world. I want you to share your information, your organization again, and any final thoughts you want to give out to the world, ma'am.
Okay, well, thank you for watching the show, listening to a little bit about my story. And I am here. I am a real person with real life experiences and a big heart that just want to help so many people. I know that I'm not here to help everybody, but for those of you who are assigned to me, if anything in my story resonated with you and you're struggling with grief and loss, I'm your girl. Reach out to h3haven.org. And if I can't help you and you decide this is not what you want, I will connect you with the right person.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We want to thank my special guest, Miss Yolanda Mitchum, for joining us here today. Ladies and gentlemen, and once again, I am your host, William Robinson. Talk love and communication, ladies and gentlemen. We had a very, very, very special episode of My Story here with Yolanda Mitchum, ladies and gentlemen. She gave us some wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. A lot of insight, bright young lady. Let you know that you can overcome no matter how you started. No matter how bad that caterpillar is, you can fly high as a butterfly, ladies and gentlemen. And remember, we only got one life to live. And it's a whole lot easier with love and communication. You can donate to this podcast with Cash App. Anybody love you with a U, PayPal, Robinson74 William, Zelle 352-209-3306. And remember, if nobody told you they love you today, William Robinson loves you.